Today, Canto 3, Chapter 21, text number 29. Yata Atma Ritam Viryam Navadya Par Savisyati Virye Twadiye Rishaya Adhyas Yanti Ajasatamaha. Okay, so this verse says, he will bring forth 9 daughters from the seed sown in her by you. And through the daughters you beget, the sages will duly beget children. Text 30, there's no purport. Text 30. Tvam cha samyag anustaya nide samma usatama maitirti kritasesa kriarto mam prapatyasi. With your heart cleansed by properly carrying out my command, resigning to me the fruits of all your acts, you will finally attain to me. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Here the words Tirthi Krita Shesha Kriyarta are significant. Tirtha means a sanctified place where charity is given. People used to go to places of pilgrimage and give munificently in charity. This system is still current, therefore. This system is still current. Therefore, the Lord said, in order to sanctify your activities and the results of your action, you will offer everything unto me. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you sacrifice, the result should be given to me only. In another place in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord said, I am the enjoyer of all sacrifices, all penances, and everything done for the welfare of mankind or society. All activities, therefore, whether for the welfare of family, society, country, or humanity at large, must be performed in Krishna consciousness. That is the instruction given by the Lord to Karadama Muni. Maharaj Yudhisthira welcomed Narada Muni. Wherever you are present, that place becomes sanctified because the Lord himself is always seated in your heart. Similarly, if we act in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the Lord and his representative, then everything is sanctified. This is the indication given to Kardama Muni, who acted on it, and therefore received the most excellent wife child, as will be disclosed in later verses. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare. So the Canto 3, Chapter 21, Text 30 says, with your heart cleansed by properly carrying out my command, resigning to me the fruits of all your acts, you will finally attain to me. Okay, so this is what you would call confidential truth. In other words, Krishna is revealing to Kardama Muni the ultimate purpose of life, and that is resigning to me the fruits of all your activities. So, therefore, we should never act on our whimsical thoughts. We should only act after having been validated by genuine devotees of the actions that we want to take. In other words, we should always refer to Guru and sadhu before we do anything. Let's say anything of consequence. So you don't have to ask them every day, can I eat, can I sleep, etc. But you should ask them, should I do this or should I do that? So oftentimes the jiva, especially in Krishna consciousness, we may be perplexed about what is the right action to take. Therefore, we should ask bona fide devotees, advanced devotees, what path of action we should take, especially if we are perplexed about it. So, by regularly chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, we will have a heart cleansed of material desires. And then we're able to properly carry out the command of the Lord, the dictation of the Lord. And we will naturally offer the fruits of all our activities to the Lord. If we do that, it says, finally, we will attain to the Lord's. We'll go back to Godhead. So that implies that it might take a long time to go back to Godhead, but it's guaranteed that if we engage in devotional service, life after life, we will eventually go back to the spiritual world and not have to take any more birth, old age, and disease. So, uh, another point about the purport is that tirtha, the word tirtha, because it's in the verse, Mai tirthi krita sesha kriyarto mam prapat prapatsyasi. So Prabhupada says the words tirthi, kritasesha, kriyartaha are significant. Tirtha means a sacrifice place where charity is given. People used to go to places of pilgrimage and give munificently in charity. Munificently is a nice word. It means, very, very much, very copious quantity, very generous. They would give generously in charity. This system is still current. Therefore, the Lord said, in order to sanctify your activities and the results of your actions, you will offer everything to me. Now, when you go to a place like Vrindavan, there are beggars there. And most of the beggars in Vrindavan are bona fide, but there are also some that are not bona fide. So how can you tell the difference? Well, there are often elderly ladies who have abandoned their families. Their children are grown, they have grandchildren, and they decide to go to Vrindavan and stay there until they die. And oftentimes there are different temples specifically for feeding them. They can go there and get prasadam. And sometimes those ladies, but they're mostly ladies, they'll go out and ask for alms or ask for something. So one time when I was in Vrindavan, this one older lady came up to me and she smiled and she put her hand out and said, she didn't say anything. I couldn't understand Hindi. She couldn't speak English. She just put her hand out and smiled. And I was trying to figure out what she wants. So I didn't know what to give her. And then she pointed to some fruits that was, from a fruit vendor. And then I understood, and I purchased some fruits, and I gave it to her. She was very happy, and she thanked me with a smile and went on her way. So she was probably a grandmother who decided to come to Vrindavan and die in Vrindavan. And there are a good number of people that do that because it's such a holy place. So if they're going to die, rather than die at home and seem to be, what you would call a nuisance to their family, they leave and don't bother their family anymore, and they go to a holy place. Like uh, there are different holy places in India, and Vrindavan is one, and of course uh, there are others, and they stay there until they leave their body. And to maintain themselves, they can beg from pilgrims who come, like, or they can stay in an ashram specially meant for widows uh, and who are destitute and have come to leave their body, but they want to leave their body in a holy place. So, if you go to Vrindavan and like a grandmother comes up to you and asks you for alms, you should give something. You shouldn't say no. Now, how do you recognize who's real and who's not real? Well, there's a very good chance that they're real persons and not cheaters. Even if they are a cheater, it's always good to give something. And that way, you can't make a mistake. Of course, giving to a cheater may seem to be not good, but you're in a holy dom and someone is asking you for a donation. So most of the time, they're sincere people who have come there to leave their body, but they don't have anything. They may have even walked there from, a distant place where they have a family. Okay, so Tirtha means a sanctified place where charity is given. People used to go to places of pilgrimage and give munificently in charity. This system is still current. Therefore, the Lord said, in order to sanctify your activities and the results of your actions, you will offer everything to me. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you sacrifice, the results should be given to me only. In another place, in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord said, I am the enjoyer of all sacrifices, all penance, and everything done for the welfare of mankind or society. All activities, therefore, whether for the welfare of family, society, country, or humanity at large, must be performed in Krishna consciousness. That is the instruction given by the Lord to Kardama Muni. Maharaj Yudhisthira, welcome, Narada Muni. Wherever you are present, that place becomes sanctified because the Lord himself is always seated in your heart. Similarly, if we act in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the Lord and his representative, then everything is sanctified. This is the indication given to Kardama Muni, who acted on it and therefore received the most excellent wife and child, as will be disclosed in later verses. Okay, so now there is definitely a question here. How do you know that a person that's begging and in a holy place like Vrindavan is genuine or a fault of a fraud. Well, uh, usually older like grandmoms, they'll come to Vrindavan to pass the last part of their life there and until they die. Now, there are temples that feed them and they can go to. But sometimes, like one time, an older lady came up to me. She looked like a grandmother, and she wanted. She didn't. She spoke to me, but I didn't understand what she meant, uh, and I was not sure what she meant. So she pointed to a fruit stand, and uh, she was pointing to a mango. So then I understood she wanted a mango. So I bought a mango and gave it to her, and she was very happy. She didn't ask for money; she just wanted a mango. You see, so you have to be careful when you're in the holy dom. You should never insult anyone or belittle them or chase them away or anything like that. You have to be very careful because there are people coming from all over India to die in Vrindavan, and they don't have anything. They walk there. They're like poor grandmothers, and they walk from far off places to Vrindavan, and they stay there until they die. And they're not afraid. They know somehow or other Krishna is going to help them, and he does. And oftentimes, when they're begging, you should give them something. You shouldn't chase them away. Think they're cheaters. Now there are some cheaters, of course, but uh, most of the beggars in Vrindavan they deserve to be given something because it's a holy dham, holy place, and that's why Krishna says. That's why Prabhupada says here. Tirtha means a sanctified place where charity is given. So when we go to a holy dham like Vrindavan or like Navadvip or like other holy places in India, we should expect that people are going to come and ask for some alms or some donation. So you can give them money or you can give them fruits and vegetables. So Tirtha means a sanctified place where charity is given. So we should not uh, think that these are fake people. Like, for example, as soon as you land in Delhi or some other city in India, the first thing you see when you get off the airplane, once you walk out from the airport, first thing you see is beggars. Now, not all the time. Sometimes the police control the beggars. But I know previously, every time I would get off an airplane in India, there were beggars there. And obviously, some were real and some were just trying to make money. So, but if you're in a holy place, you should expect that there are going to be beggars there and you should give them something. You shouldn't just walk away from them. Now, sometimes, when you give something like, 1 or 2 rupees, they hand it back to us. This is not enough. It's insult. Has that happened to you, bro?
Yeah. And I was like in my college time, I used to give, because one of my uncle, he said, give like this,
Yeah,
donation
yeah,
to
give two
like
rupees.
beggars. And I used to give whenever I see to temple, especially when the beggars are sitting next to the temple. So I
Yeah.
generally either give them some prasadam or some money. But then eventually I stopped giving money because one day I gave them some few rupees and they said, I don't need this. Give me more if you want to give.
Oh, yeah.
Then I gave more. Then they accepted. So I don't know whether I gave or not, but that's what happened once, long time back.
Yeah.
Then I realized they have also some minimum to accept.
Yeah. There's what do you call? Uh, yeah, there was once a farmer, and for 20, 30 years, he was selling cucumbers for pachas paisa, 50 cents. Right? And one day he came after 20, 30 years of selling, pachas paisa, and he raised the price, like 4, 5, 6 rupees. People said, paisa. They said, what's going on here? He said, the dollar went up. Didn't learn the trick, right? 20, 30 years, they're selling at the same price, and then, but then they were reading the newspaper or something, the dollar went up, so they had to raise their price. There's a lot of funny things that happen like that. Yeah.
One time, Maharaj, we landed in Delhi and someone was forcefully trying to help. Like, no, no, I will help you in
Yeah, yeah,
luggage.
yeah, yeah.
And that is just for 10 seconds, like from car to the trunk.
Yeah.
That's it. So, but I said, no, no, no. They forcefully put. And then they said, okay, give some money. So
Yeah.
I gave them few hundred rupees. And they said, no, no, I accept in dollars. I need dollars.
Whoa. Yeah.
Give me dollars. That was
Oh, they're trained. They know that
yeah,
you are a rich person coming from a rich country.
not surprised.
Well, they have nothing to lose, right? They may as well, uh, ask us for as much as they can get because they're only going to see you once in a lifetime. Okay, and they know that most people that come to from the America or European countries, they're rich. They could afford to buy a ticket to come, so that means they have money.
I have one question, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Maharaj, as you said in Holy Down, we should give something. So if you are giving money and the person is not a genuine person, so we get the 1/6 karma? Like because if that person is misusing that
Well,
money.
if you have a doubt, then you can take them to a fruit stand and just buy some fruits and give it to them. You know, they can't. You know, that way you know what they're doing with the money, right? They're eating fruits,
Okay.
unless they try and sell the fruits to someone else to get money to buy some liquor. But you can tell who's drinking liquor, and it's really sinful person. You can tell. Most of the people in Vrindavan who are begging are grandmothers who left their families and come there to die. And the only thing they can do to maintain themselves is to beg. Now, there are temples where they can stay and where they can have, regular meals. There are temples like that in Vrindavan. Even ISKCON temples will feed. Like, lunchtime comes, it's like 200, 300, 500, ladies that are being fed by the devotees. So there are temples they can go to have food, but sometimes they might just arrive there from a someplace in India, and they don't know about those temples yet, and so forth, and uh, they're asking for money. Uh, so you never know, but generally, what is Prabhupada say, he says, Tirtha means a sanctified place where charity is given. So we should all, when you go to a holy place, especially Vrindavan or Navadvip, there are going to be beggars there. Some may be professional beggars and some may be genuine beggars. So we can always give something to these people. We should always be, let's say, ready to give something. You know, Tirtha means a sanctified place where charity is given. People used to go to places of pilgrimage and give munificently in charity. This system is still current. Therefore, the Lord said, in order to sanctify your activities and the results of your actions, you will offer everything to me. All right, so in other words, it's implying that you're going to also be very generous about giving to temples in the holy places. We should always be giving something to the temples and also for people. And this is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you sacrifice, the results should be given to me only, Krishna says. In another place in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord said, I am the enjoyer of all sacrifices, all penances, and everything done for the welfare of mankind or society. All activities, therefore, whether for the welfare of family, society, country, or humanity at large, may be performed in Krishna consciousness. That is the instruction given by the Lord to the Karadama Muni. Okay, but now he's talking about, first he quotes a verse, Prabhupada quotes the verse where Krishna says, I am the enjoyer of all sacrifices, all penances, and everything done for the welfare of mankind or society. Then he says, all activities, therefore, whether for the welfare of family, society, country, or humanity at large, must be performed in Krishna consciousness. What does that mean, in Krishna consciousness? Well, that means that wherever you go, you should be chanting Hare Krishna. You should be following the regulative principles. You should be charitable, and you should recognize the needs of people in holy places. Now, there are charlatans, cheaters, there are professional beggars that do things for a living, but you have to always remember that you're in a holy place. So it's better to give something to all those people than nothing. And eventually, you usually understand, who's a professional beggar and a nonsense person, and who's a sincere beggar who deserves the charity. Maybe sometimes you make a mistake. So when you have a doubt, you just give a little something. And when you are sure that this is a genuine beggar, you can give them more. So it says, all activities, therefore, whether for the welfare of family, society, country, or humanity at large, must be performed in Krishna consciousness. That is the instruction given by the Lord to Karadama Muni. Okay, so uh, that means that we should be wherever we are, like we go on Sankirtan, and if we see a person who seems to be, in need of some help, well, we might not be able to give them money, but we can give them uh, some prasadam. We can give them a free book or something to help them. we can invite them to the temple. Or we can go with them to some place where, like a restaurant and buy some food for them. There's different things that you can do. You don't necessarily have to give money all the time. So, uh, another point is wherever Krishna is present, that place becomes sanctified because the Lord Himself is always seated in your heart. Okay, so wherever we go, in other words, and we're acting in Krishna consciousness, that place becomes sanctified because Krishna is in our heart. So a devotee, a genuine devotee, can make any place a place of pilgrimage. And it says, similarly, if we act in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the Lord and His representative, then everything is sanctified. Everything becomes purified and spiritual. This is the indication given to Kardama Muni, who acted on it and therefore received a most excellent wife and child, as will be disclosed in later verses. Okay, so if we act in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the Lord and His representative, then everything is sanctified. Well, that's good news to know. That means that you can make any place or any person sacred if you're a real devotee, because Krishna is in your heart. Okay. So this is the indication given to Kardama Muni, who acted on it and therefore received a most excellent wife and child, as will be disclosed in later verses. Well, if we act in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the Lord and His representative, meaning the Guru, then everything is sanctified, purified. This is the indication given to Kardama Muni. And he actually acted on it, and therefore he was given a most excellent wife and child. So we should always be a giver, and we should be a helper also. Just like sometimes you might see a blind person trying to cross the street. So out of respect, you can ask them, can I help you cross the street? And if they say, no, that's okay, I have my cane, and it's okay. Or they'll say, well, thank you very much, please. So you shouldn't just, grab their arm and try and make them cross the street. You should ask them first if they want help. Sometimes they'll say no, and you have to respect that. Okay, so text 31. Kritvadayam chajivesu datva chabayam atmavan mai atmanam sahagajad jagad draksyasi atmanichapi mam. Showing compassion to all living entities, you will attain self-realization. Giving assurance of safety to all, you will perceive your own self as well as all the universes in me and myself in you. This verse basically is saying wherever you go, if you are compassionate to all living entities, which includes, animals, because it's saying all living entities, you'll attain self-realization. And giving assurance of safety to all, you will perceive your own self as well as all the universes as well as all the universes in me and myself in you. This is a very significant verse. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The simple process of self-realization for every living entity is described here. The first principle to be understood is that this world is a product of the supreme will. In other words, the world is created by Krishna. There is an identity of this world with the Supreme Lord. Yeah, that means that anything you look at or see in the material world is a product of Krishna. Krishna is the creator of everything. This identity is accepted in a misconceived way by the impersonal. They say that the supreme absolute truth, transforming himself into the universe, loses his separate existence. Thus, they accept the world and everything in it to be the Lord. This is pantheism, wherein everything is considered to be the Lord. This is the view of the impersonal. But those who are personal devotees of the Lord take everything to be the property of the Supreme Lord. Everything, whatever we see, is the manifestation of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, everything should be engaged in the service of the Lord. This is oneness. The difference between the impersonalist and the personalist is that the impersonalist does not accept the separate existence of the Lord, but the personalist accepts the Lord. He understands that although he distributes himself, meaning Krishna, in so many ways, he has his separate personal existence. This is described in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, I am spread all over the universe by my impersonal form. Everything is resting on me, but I am not present. There is a nice example regarding the sun and the sunshine. The sun, by its sunshine, is spread all over the universe, and all the planets rest on the sunshine. But all the planets are different from the sun planet. One cannot say that because the planets are resting on the sunshine, these planets are also the sun. Similarly, the impersonal or pantheist, I'll explain that word in a minute, or the impersonal or pantheistic view that everything is God is not a very intelligent proposal. The real position, as explained by the Lord himself, is that although nothing can exist without him, meaning Krishna, it is not a fact that everything is him. So that's why we say God is everything, but everything is not God. He is different from everything. So here also the Lord says, you will see everything in the world to be non-different from me. This means that everything should be considered a product of the Lord's energy, and therefore everything should be employed in the service of the Lord. One's energy should be utilized for one's self-interest. That is the perfection of the energy. This energy can be utilized for real self-interest if one is compassionate. A person in Krishna consciousness, a devotee of the Lord, is always compassionate. He is not satisfied that only he himself is a devotee, but he tries to distribute the knowledge of devotional service to everyone. There are many devotees of the Lord who faced many risks in distributing the devotional service of the Lord to people in general. That should be done. In other words, if you're going to preach to everyone, that is risky, but we should not be afraid. We should do it. So if a person doesn't want to be preached to, they'll just tell you, go away, and you can go away. It is also said that a person who goes to the temple of the Lord and worships with great devotion, but who does not show sympathy to people in general or show respect to other devotees is considered to be a third-class devotee. That means devotee in the lowest level. The second-class devotee is he who is merciful and compassionate to the fallen soul. The second-class devotee is always cognizant of his position as an eternal servant of the Lord. He therefore makes friendships with devotees of the Lord, acts compassionately toward the general public in teaching them devotional service, and refuses to cooperate or associate with non-devotees. As long as one is not compassionate to people in general in his devotional service to the Lord, he is a third-class devotee. The first-class devotee gives assurance to every living being that there is no fear of this material existence. Let us live in Krishna consciousness and conquer the nescience or the ignorance of material existence. It is indicated here that Kardama Muni was directed by the Lord to be very compassionate and liberal in his householder life, and to give assurance to people in his renounced to the people in his renounced life. A sannyasi, one in the renounced order of life, is meant to give enlightenment to the people. He should travel, going from home to enlighten. The householder, by the spell of Maya, becomes absorbed in family affairs and forgets his relationship with Krishna. If he dies in forgetfulness, like the cats and dogs, then his life is spoiled. It is the duty of a sannyasi, therefore, to go and awaken the forgetful souls with enlightenment of their eternal relationship with the Lord and to engage them in devotional service. The devotees should show mercy to the fallen souls and also give them the assurance of fearlessness. As soon as one becomes a devotee of the Lord, he is convinced that he is protected by the Lord. Fear itself is afraid of the Lord. Therefore, what has he to do with fearfulness? To award fearfulness to the common man, to award fearlessness to the common man is the greatest act of charity. A sannyasi, or one who is in the renounced order of life, should wander from door to door, from village to village, from town to town, and from country to country, all over the world, as far as he is able to travel, and enlighten the householders about Krishna consciousness. A person who is a householder, but is initiated by a sannyasi, has the duty to spread Krishna consciousness at home as far as possible. He should call his friends and neighbors to his house and hold classes in Krishna consciousness. Holding a class means chanting the holy name of Krishna and speaking from Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. There are immense literatures for spreading Krishna consciousness, and it is the duty of each and every householder to learn about Krishna from his sannyasi spiritual master. There is a division of labor in the Lord's service. The householder's duty is to earn money because a sannyasi is not supposed to earn money, but is completely dependent on the house. The householder should earn money by business or by profession and spend at least 50% of his income to spread Krishna consciousness. 25% he can spend for his family, and 25% he should save to meet emergencies. This example was shown by Rupa Goswami, so devotees should follow it. Actually, to be one with the Supreme Lord means to be one with the interest of the Lord. Becoming one with the Supreme Lord does not imply becoming as great as the Supreme Lord. It is impossible. The part is never equal to the whole. The living entity is always a minute part. Therefore, his oneness with the Lord is that he is interested in the one interest of the Lord. The Lord wants every living entity to always think about him, to be his devotee, and always worship him. This is clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita. Man mana bhava mad bhakta. Krishna wants everyone to always, he wants everyone always to think of him. Everyone should always offer obeisances to him, and this is the will of the Supreme Lord. And devotees should try to fulfill his desire. Since the Lord is unlimited, his desire is also unlimited. There is no stoppage, and therefore the service of the devotee is also unlimited. In the transcendental world, there is unlimited competition between the Lord and the servitor. The Lord wants to fulfill his desires unlimitedly, and the devotee also serves him to fulfill his unlimited desires. There is an unlimited oneness of interest between the Lord and his devotee. So there's a difference between the devotee who serves the Lord to fulfill his, meaning the Lord's unlimited desires, and the service that one performs for one's own satisfaction and desire. Uh, so if we become a genuine devotee, there is an unlimited oneness of interest between the Lord and his devotee. So what is that unlimited oneness of interest between the Lord and his devotee? That means the devotee completely agrees with the Lord in all respects at all times. Okay, so now how can we understand what is the desire of the Lord? We learn from the bona fide, let's say, devotees, the more advanced devotees. So, in many ways, Srila Prabhupada would instruct us uh, who to give alms to and who not to give alms to. Alms meaning charity. So this statement, since the Lord is unlimited, his desire is also unlimited. There is no stoppage, and therefore the service of the devotee is also unlimited. Now that's a good point. In other words, when a person becomes a devotee, a real devotee of the Lord, there's no, let's say, hiatus or stoppage of their service. They will serve right up to the last moment of their life. And if you see Prabhupada's last moments, there's video of it. He was preaching right up to the last moment of his life. And you can see that picture right now. Picture of Prabhupada saying his last words right before he left his body. And he was preaching. So, because the Lord is unlimited, his desire is also unlimited. There's no stoppage, and therefore the service of the devotee is also unlimited. You see it? You see the picture? Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So Prabhupada is following what he has written himself. There is no stoppage, and therefore the service of the devotee is also unlimited. In the transcendental world, there is unlimited competition between the Lord and the servitor. All right, so what's the competition? The Lord is always looking, this is in the spirit, transcendental world. The Lord is always looking for an opportunity to serve his devotee. And a devotee is always looking for an opportunity to serve the Lord. So there's a type of competition there. The Lord wants to fulfill his desires unlimitedly, and the devotee also serves him to fulfill his unlimited desires. There is an unlimited oneness of interest between the Lord and his devotee. What is the oneness of interest? The devotee always serves the Lord to fulfill his unlimited desires. Therefore, the devotee is in oneness with the Lord, because whatever the Lord wants, that's what the devotee wants. And so the Lord can want different things. You might want someone to build a temple. You might want someone to go on Sankirtan. You might want someone to help him in the edition of his books and so forth. So uh, there are myriad ways or many ways to serve Krishna. Uh, and it's not only one way. And another point is that the Lord wants to fulfill his desires unlimited. And the devotee also serves him to fulfill his unlimited desires. There is an unlimited oneness of interest between the Lord and his devotee. So the devotee never stops trying to please the Lord. It's an eternal, let's say, eternal service. That's why every day, basically, we do the same thing. Uh, we don't we don't take what's called a vacation. When people take a vacation, they stop doing the same thing that they were doing, and they start doing something different, uh, like sleeping more, eating more, and you know, not being regulated and so forth. But devotees, wherever they are, they do the same thing. Just like Prabhupada, wherever he went, he did the same thing. He would wake up early. He would translate. Uh, he would write purports, and he'd go to Arti. He would also preach, give classes. He would also preach to other people besides the devotees, and so forth. He was doing the same thing everywhere he went. That's the symptom of the devotee. Okay, so what time is it? Are there any questions? So this one statement says, the Lord wants to fulfill his desires unlimited, and the devotee also serves him to fulfill his unlimited desire. There is an unlimited oneness of interest between the Lord and his devotee. Okay, so when we get initiated, we promise to give up meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, intoxication. And then we promise to chant 16 good rounds every day. And also, we promise other things. What are those other things? We promise to not only chant 16 good rounds every day, but also to go on Sankirtan and help others to understand Krishna consciousness and distribute prasadam uh, and so forth, to do uh, basically acts of benevolence for all types of people. That should be the defining identity of a devotee who performs all kinds of acts of benevolence for the benefit of the people. So the benefit begins with one's family, and then it expands to everyone. Okay, so you can't ignore your family and just preach to other people. No, you should, a genuine devotee will find some way to, uh, let's say, be benevolent to their own family and to all others outside family. Now, sometimes the family members are not very Krishna conscious. In that case, the devotee will just give them some prasad. Sometimes you can't even say it's prasad. They'll ask you, is this some of that food you offered to God? If you say yes, they'll say, I don't want it. There are people like that. So sometimes you have to uh, say what's called a white lie. A white lie is not meant to be, let's say, it's meant to be beneficial to someone. So if you tell the truth that this is prashadam, they will refuse. So if you say, well, no, this is just uh, something left over from my birthday, or this is not prashadam, this is just food, then they'll take it. Uh, like, for example, if you go to Jehovah's Witnesses, you know who they are, the Jehovah's Witnesses. And they're nonsense people. If you offer them prashadam, they won't take it. They've been taught don't accept food from the Hare Krishnas.
But in India, Christians don't take any food from Hindus.
Oh, really? Yeah, because they know that you've offered it to Krishna.
Yeah, because even servant
Where?
maids in the house
Yeah,
come and help with some chores.
you won't take any.
Most of them are converted into Christianity
Yeah.
and they don't take.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in India, it is now more prevalent that don't take any food from Christians, don't take any food from Hindus.
You see how demoniac they are.
And that's how it's becoming.
That means that Christians are preaching a lot.
They're preaching. And they also serve a lot of food for these poor people. And then every Sunday, they feed them chicken, mutton, fish, prawns, pulao, everything.
Yeah, well, it's competition.
A lot of conversion happening through free perks and free food. They give money.
Yeah.
And then they are very nice and respectful to them.
Education.
Yeah.
Tickets to go to America.
And they're very nice and respectful to those people.
Yeah.
Which Hindus are not.
Me to the poor people. Yeah. Well, there's some things we can learn from the Christians. We can learn to be very generous. It's competition. So, and then the Christians are teaching the Hindus to eat meat. Also, there are some Christians who are, vegetarian, but I don't think the people that are preaching in India, the Christians preaching in India, are necessarily vegetarians. They're mostly meat eaters, and they know if a Hindu starts to eat meat, then they can convert. Well, the first thing they do when a Hindu wants to be a Christian, and also the Muslims to a Hindu that wants to be Christian, they feed him meat. That's the first thing they do. And then once the Hindu starts eating meat, well, he's violated his dharma, and then he might like it, and that's it. You lose, that's a convert. Yeah. Okay. So I think we're ended here. Are there any questions? Yeah.
One clarification on this same line, Maharaj. Since the Lord at the end of this purport, since the Lord is unlimited, that his desire is also unlimited. There is no stoppage, and therefore the service of the devotee is also unlimited. My question is, the devotee service is also unlimited, but we are in
The limited material world.
but we are in limited, right? Like Lord is unlimited, and we are limited. So in quantity. So how the devotee service will be like unlimited?
It's by being regulated. You do the same thing every day. You wake up early, take a shower, planting around, come to class. It's the same routine every day. Go to the temple, serve. If you follow that routine, it's unlimited. You're doing it now, you did it in the past, and you'll continue doing it in the future. Unlimited.
And even after we take another birth, we'll start doing service regime.
Yeah, of course. If you take birth again, uh, well, you can take birth again either in the spiritual world or in the material world as a devotee. Both ways, you continue doing the same thing. Yeah. So that's why there's a real benefit in becoming a devotee, because you will then be connected to Krishna wherever you go and whatever happens to you and whatever lifetime you have. Yeah, you'll be always Krishna conscious. And that means that you're always going to be protected by Krishna. Now you see how, especially in India, the Krishnas are the Christians are very, very adamantly trying to turn all the Hindus into Christians, and the Muslims also. So, because for too long the Hindus were not really preaching, just going along as the majority people, and the sadhus and especially the richer Hindus were not helping the poorer Hindus, just ignoring them and not preaching to them. Especially, they would say, "Oh, these people are outcasts,"
Yeah.
and treating them badly, right? Yeah, and so what did the Christians do? They started by teaching to the ones that were rejected by the Hindus, the good, the lepers and people like that. And then they expanded to other people, and then they expanded to all people. But they started off by preaching to the least, let's say, the ones that were rejects of the Hindus, the Hindu rejects, and there were a lot of Hindu rejects, because they were either very poor or illiterate, or they were people with physical problems, or considered untouchables. So there were a lot of people like that. So the Hindus were not really preaching. They were not really preaching at all. It's people like the Hare Krishnas that came and started preaching.
Yeah.
And then they started converting people who had left Hinduism back to Krishna consciousness, which is not exactly Hinduism. It's Krishna consciousness. So you can convert a Jehovah's Witness, you can convert an atheist. You can convert all people to Krishna consciousness. We don't discriminate on the basis of wealth or uh, any type of affiliation that you may have had before. Doesn't matter whether you're a low class Hindu or a high class Hindu. We preach to everyone. However, uh, even in ISKCON, sometimes the devotees, avoid preaching to the very low class people. So that takes a lot of, well, because obviously uh, it's nice to preach to wealthy people because then they'll be very generous. But we should preach to all people. We should not be prejudiced in that way. And people notice it. They notice it. Okay, so we'll stop right there. Thank you very much. Yes.
So on a similar note, when I was as young kid, um, I used to go to temple and I saw some people are not allowed. They are like because of the different lower caste or some other reasons. So I was very surprised.
Confused.
Yeah, cannot go inside, and we are going. So
I saw that too when I was a kid, going to church. The church was our church was in the early days was in a black neighborhood or a neighborhood that was changing from all white to mixed black and white. And one black guy entered the church, and immediately he was surrounded by 4 or 5 men, and they said that this church is not for you. And the black guy said, "But I thought this was a Christian church." They said, "Yeah, but it's not for your kind of people."
That's true.
And I heard, I think I was like 10 years old when that happened. And I saw them they surrounded him. As soon as he entered the church, they surrounded him, and they told him this church is not for you. And he said, but it's a Christian church. I'm a Christian. They said, no, you have your own churches. You go there. So yeah, there's a lot of strange things that happen in the world. And even when I was just 10 years old, I thought that was not right. But, yeah. Haribol. All praise to Srila Prabhupada.
On the other hand, Maharaj, when I used to see my grandmother, she used to call such people, those cannot enter the temple. She will call them and let them sit on the patio, and she will feed prasadam, whatever they like. She will every day.
Wow.
So I was like,
she's a real devotee.
I was learning like how she was precisely calling the people, such people from the roadside, and
wow.
And they know very well my grandmother. They will just come sometimes.
Well, I wish I knew your grandmother. I would have gone also.
So I was like the same time I was seeing the two different extremes.
Yeah.
I was learning as well.
Yeah. The being Krishna conscious is a big responsibility. It makes you aware of things that you would never do before, and now you're doing them. Like for example, in the United States, there's always been what you would call segregation. Like, white people all don't associate with black people. So when that was, when the slavery stopped, still it went on. The white people would not live in black neighborhoods, so forth. Now, when I was born into a family where the neighborhood we lived in was mixed. It was partially black and partially white. So, and then we had my family had a grocery store, so black people would come to the grocery store, and and then we had some black who were employees.
Mm.
So I got to associate with them, and I realized, these are people just like just like us. There's no difference, and a lot of them, most of them, are very nice. So uh, I sort of like realized, we shouldn't be have any animosity toward these people. They're just the same as us. There's no difference. But there always was that undercurrent of blacks who don't like whites and whites who don't like blacks. That was always there. It's still there. It was worse before. Maybe it's a little better now, or maybe not. And so the blacks had their neighborhoods, and the white people had their neighborhoods. It wasn't very mixed. Now it's all mixed up. But before it was, even though slavery had stopped uh, for a long time, still the blacks were in their neighborhoods, and whites were in their neighborhoods. Then, as the blacks became more educated, then that whole thing started to break down. But still, there's always in different places in the United States, there's always been this separation. It's still there in many places in the United States where black people are not in the white neighborhoods. Um, it's less now than before, but before it was the normal thing. Now it's a lot less. So, what makes the difference? Uh, the difference is when someone is actually spiritually educated, they don't see the color of the skin. They understand this is a human being, and the color of the skin doesn't really define who the person is. And this person definitely has Krishna in their heart, so therefore they should be treated with respect, and it should not be, we should not have prejudices against them. Even in Krishna consciousness, there are blacks, but not a lot actually. Depends, where the devotees are preaching. They preach in Africa also, But in the United States, there are black devotees, but not a lot. Uh, you can count them, in your hand. So is that because they're not allowed to come into Krishna consciousness? No, but it's like that for the time being. I mean, there are temples where there are more black devotees, but there's a lot of temples where they're not even one. But there are visitors who are black. It's just like in our temple. Do we have a black devotee in our temple? I don't.
Here, Naruhari Prabhu was here.
Yeah, New Hari was here. Yeah, we don't really have any black devotees in our temple. We have some black devotees who are visiting our temple and who are trying to become devotees.
Yeah.
There are.
Yeah. And we don't discriminate against them. Okay. Well, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Prabhupada ki